Hello, CAT Aspirants. How have you been? Welcome to Super Grats, and I am your English mentor, Sana Jaffrey. So, I welcome you to this very important and beneficial series, CAT PYQ series. So, we are going steady and strong on this series, and I hope you understand the importance of solving the PYQs. If you really want to have a real time glimpse of the previous year papers, I think this is the place. So, I would request you to watch all the sessions, take them really seriously, and share them with your friends. If you like it, please express your admiration, okay, and solve all the questions with me. That's the most important thing. Don't be a passive viewer, right? So what I have done today is that I will be taking up the most doable questions from CAT 2022. Okay, so let's do it. All right. So the first one that I've picked up is, and yes, I have consulted the different slots. So jitne bhi alag-alag slots the, I refer to that, and I cherry picked the most doable question. That let's learn to at least crack the most doable ones. Fine. This is also an art. If you get trapped in the wrong questions, then it's going to kill away a substantial chunk of your time, leaving no room for cracking or for attempting even the other questions. So एक काम करते हैं, इस question को देखते हैं. So this is a para completion based question. Fine. But this is more of a reverse para completion, as we say. Like the sentence is given to you. I hope you know this question type. I hope you already know the approach to crack these questions. Fine. So this is just a practice session, but I'll definitely explain it well. Okay. So even if you're not well versed with these type of questions, you will definitely learn a lot here. Okay. So a sentence is given to you. Now this is fixed. And आपने क्या करना है? You have to read this paragraph. Now there are multiple blanks here. So you have to identify which blank should have the sentence. Okay, you have to see that the sentence would be a best fit in which of the given blanks. And here you have the options given like this. Is this much clear? Okay, so एक काम करते हैं, सबसे पहले sentence देखते हैं. Most were first time users of a tablet and a digital app. So whenever you read a sentence like this, you must look for clues. Okay, is there any clue sitting out here? So here, most were. So you don't know what you were talking about. Most what? Most people, most customers. So these subtleties sometimes help us in deciding the right option. Let's read the paragraph. आगे बढ़े's USP lies in the ethnographic research. Ethnographic means when you talk about demography. Okay, when you list out the different studies, it's a recording of different ethnicities and different castes and creeds and all that. Ethnographic research that constituted the foundation of its development process. Customizations based on learning directly from potential users were critical to making the self-paced app suitable for both a literate and non-literate audience. So we're talking about this app, Aage Badhe, and it says that what was its USP, unique selling proposition? That it was based on a sound and a thorough demographic or ethnographic research. And they customized, the learning based on their potential users, even whether a person was literate or illiterate. Okay, such people could study, could learn from this app, which is very much self-paced. So this is the USP. Now there's a blank. The user interface caters to a Hindi speaking audience who have minimal to no experience with digital services and devices. So Hindi speaking audience, okay, they primarily cater to that. Blank 2. The content and functionality of the app are suitable for a wide audience. So the content is such that a wide spectrum of people can benefit from it. This includes youth preparing for an independent role in life or a student ready to create a strong foundation of financial management early in her life. Then there's the third blank. Household members desirous of improving their family's financial strength to reach their aspirations can also benefit. So clearly you understand that here they are telling you about a slew of the potential users. You could be a student, you could be a homemaker or a regular household member. So all of these people can actually potentially benefit substantially from this particular app. We piloted Aage Badhe in early 2021 with over 400 women from rural areas, and there's a blank. The digital solution generated a large amount of interest in the communities. So now they're telling you about the pilot stage, or a dry run as we say, that there were 400 women from rural areas. They first happened to use it. अब यहाँ पे देखो बत्ती चमकनी चाहिए एकदम, है ना, कि we're talking अब specifically कि 400 women थी रूरल एरिया से. Don't you think so? अब यहाँ पे ये सेंटेंस फिट हो सकता है. Most were first time users of a tablet and a digital app. Here specifically the word most pertains to these women who were a part of the pilot study. So the best fit here is going to be 4, and 4 is your answer. You, even if you try to fit in this sentence and other blanks, it just won't fit in. It will make it very choppy. Okay. Logically, there is no need. Here we were only describing about the app in the blank 1. We were telling about the features of the app. Even in blank 2, there is absolutely no room for any sentence like this. Okay? Even in 3 was talking about who all people can benefit. So there is no room for a sentence like this. So clearly the answer is 4. Wasn't it so doable? So the takeaway is that CAT is not that difficult. It is not that scary. You should know question selection really well. And if you have the ability to cherry pick those nice important questions, you can actually make it happen. Next. Another one of the same type. This was taken from a different slot, okay? But CAT 2022 ke hain sare. This was years in the making, but fast-tracked during the pandemic when people started being more mindful about their food, he explained. ठीक है? Let's read the paragraph. See, यहाँ पे भी there's a very major clue sitting here. This. Okay, the moment you say this was in the making, ये तो चल रहा था पहले से, but this fast track, this picked up really fast when people started becoming more mindful about their food and about their health. So let's read the paragraph. For millennia, for ages, ghee has been a venerated staple of the subcontinental diet. Venerated means respected. But it fell out of favor a few decades ago when saturated fats were largely considered to be unhealthy. But you know, it did not become that popular. It fell out of favor. Okay, so its popularity dip ho gayi when saturated fats were considered unhealthy. Then there's a blank. But more recently, as the thinking around saturated fats is shifting globally, Indians are finding their own way back to this ingredient that is so integral to their cuisine. But now the thinking is slightly shifting. Okay, so Indians are again getting back to ghee, which was quite a staple in their diet. Second blank comes here. For Karmakar, a renewed interest in ghee is emblematic or symbolic of a return to basics movement in India. And there's a blank. Now here, as I tell you, in these type of questions, you know, those little clues here and there help you a lot. For example, this to theek hai, but don't you see he explained? Now, when I say he explained, then obviously this is a pronoun that we are using. Then just prior to it, there must be a noun. So when I talk about blank 1 and blank 2, you don't understand what is he referring to. ये he कौन आ जाएगा? Blank 1 and blank 2 में तो ही आपको कोई मतलब कोई बंदा दिखता ही नहीं है. वो बंदा जो है मिस्टर कर्माकर, वो तो यहाँ पे आए. So here blank 3 looks like a very positive thing. And this was years in the making, which this points out to what? This points out to return to basics movement. This movement was in the making. ये पहले से चल रहा था gradually, but it got pace, it sped up when? During the pandemic. Okay? So I think 3 is a wonderful match, wonderful fit. This movement is also part of an overall trend towards slow food. In keeping with the movement's philosophy, ghee can be produced locally, even at home, and has inextricable cultural ties. इसको आप हटा नहीं सकते, extricate नहीं कर सकते, remove नहीं कर सकते. Blank 4. At a basic level, ghee is a type of clarified butter believed to have originated in India as a way to preserve butter from going rancid, है ना, in the hot climate. Rancid is when the food goes off, जब वो खराब हो जाता है, ठीक है, सड़ जाता है. So I think 4 में तो कोई ये sense ही नहीं है. We have already discussed that a wonderful fit here would be 3. So 3 is your answer. Wasn't that so easy? Wasn't that so doable? So there should be logic, there should be clarity, there should be approach, and lots of practice. Okay. So let's move towards a different question type, para summary. So I hope class you know the para summary questions, you know how to crack them. It's very simple. You just have to read the paragraph. Now there are two things that you have to keep in mind. Number one, you have to choose an option which very beautifully encompasses the essence or the crux or the gist of the entire paragraph. So it should have the central idea. It may have details here and there, but if it misses out on the central idea, then it's of no good use, I would say. So the priority should be that main idea or central idea should be covered really well. Number one. Number two, there are so many other important aspects or key ideas which are also discussed in a paragraph. So make sure that those elements are also present there as much as possible. See, all elements may not be present, but then you have to choose that option which has the perfect blend, okay, and which is the best pick, right? So let's read the paragraph. Let's understand it first. There's a common idea that museum artworks are somehow timeless objects available to admire for generations to come. But many are objects of decay. Even the most venerable old master paintings don't escape pigment discolor, varnishes crack, canvases warp, right? So it's telling you that the theme is very simple, that the artworks kept in the museum, many feel that these are timeless objects, but then they are also susceptible to damage, to wear and tear over a period of time. Okay, so even the most venerable or most respected old master paintings, they also face these problems that the color it goes off, there's discoloration in the pigment, or the texture goes bad, right? This challenging fact of art world life is down to something that sounds more like a thread from a morality tale, inherent vice. तब उन्होंने इसको थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट एंगल दिया है दैट हर चीज में कोई ना कोई फ्लॉ होता है, कोई ना कोई वाइसेस होती हैं, डिफेक्ट्स होते हैं. सो आई थिंक दिस इज अ वेरी इनहेरेंट वाइस एन इनहेरेंट डिफेक्ट, है ना, और अ वीकनेस. ठीक है, सो इवन इन आर्ट वर्क्स इट इज देयर, दे आर ऑल्सो susceptible to damage. Okay. Damien Hirst's iconic shark floating in a tank, entitled The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living, is a work that put a spotlight on inherent vice. ठीक है, तो उन्होंने एक प्रॉपर एक इनका एक शार्क फ्लोटिंग इन अ टैंक था. This is getting a little philosophical, even if you don't want to understand much of it. If you understand the central highlight and the key points, you're good to go. ठीक है, so it's actually telling you that this is somewhere highlighting the impossibility of death in the mind of someone living. So there's something, if it's in your mind, then it cannot die. Okay. And what happened is a work that put a spotlight on inherent vice. When he made it in 1991, he got himself in a pickle by not using the right kind of pickle to preserve the giant fish. Now, the preservation technique that he used for the fish, that went bad, that went awry. And so what happened, the fish started rotting. Okay, the result was that the shark began to decompose quite quickly. It's preserving liquid clouding. It started becoming more and more cloudy and murky, the skin wrinkling, and an unpleasant smell wafting from the tank. So what is the essence? If you leave aside this vice wala concept, essentially it is that everything is subject to decay, or everything ends, and the focus is on the pieces of artwork, right? All the artworks. Fine. So all these artworks in the museum, no matter how timeless they may be perceived as, but they also wear and tear with time. And an example has been given. So let's evaluate the options one by one. क्या लगता है आपको? A option, museums are left with the moral responsibility of restoring and preserving the artworks, since artists cannot preserve their works beyond their life. I think this is quite a twisted and a distorted idea, to be very honest. Reason being that it's nowhere telling you that museums have to look after this, number one. Number two, it's not telling you about the moral responsibility. It's nowhere telling that. ठीक है, तो ये म्यूजियम्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, ये नहीं है. एंड आर्टिस्ट कैन नॉट डू इट, ये भी नहीं है. बहुत ही बेकार ऑप्शन है. Let's have a look at B. Artworks may not last forever. They may deteriorate with time and the challenge is to slow down their degeneration. Looks good. They will not last forever. They may not last forever. They will deteriorate. And the challenge is to maintain it, right? Or to slow down its decomposition or degeneration. Looks like a good option. I'll put a small tick here. The role of museums has evolved to ensure that the artworks are preserved forever in addition to guarding and displaying them. Again, the passage has not been written from the perspective of the role of museums. So this is a different angle at looking at it. The vantage point is slightly different. If you compare B with C, then definitely B is better. Fine. And the point that you have to accept that they may deteriorate. Artworks, they are not timeless actually, they may deteriorate. That point is missing here, so C is also out. Museums have to guard timeless art treasures from intrinsic defects such as the deterioration of paint, polish, and canvas. Again, calling them intrinsic defects does not quite hit the nail. And then saying that it's the museum's responsibility, they have to guard. Okay, though you may like this aspect, but if you compare it with B, it is a more balanced option, okay, which is giving you all the elements woven very nicely, right? So I think it's a seamless integration of all the important points. So the most balanced and nuanced one is B beta. Let's have another para summary question. This was also very easy, I believe. Okay, so let's read the paragraph. Several of the world's earliest cities were organized along egalitarian lines. In some regions, urban populations governed themselves for centuries without any indication of the temples and palaces that would later emerge. In others, temples and palaces never emerged at all. And there is simply no evidence of a class of administrators or any other sort of ruling stratum. So, बोल क्या रहा है? सबसे पहले you've got to know the meaning of egalitarian. Egalitarianism is a system of equality, justice, equality, right? So it says that there are so many, initially there were so many cities, okay? They're referring to ancient cities in a way. And they were so egalitarian, the urban population there, fine, they governed themselves. There were no temples, there were no palaces, there are no signs of authoritarian bodies, okay? Any kind of administration or any kind of ruling. It was seen that the mere fact of urban life does not necessarily imply any particular form of political organization and never did. So with this, they infer that probably urban population can self-govern and we don't really need any organization of this kind that will rule. Okay? We don't maybe need any political organization, to be precise. Far from resigning us to inequality, the picture that is now emerging of humanity's past may open our eyes to egalitarian possibilities we otherwise would have never considered. तो ये कहता है कि अब जो पिक्चर हमें मिला है from the humanity's past that clearly indicates that there are possibilities of such a system where there was no political organization and we would have never even envisaged or imagined it. Okay? So let's have a look at the options. We now have the evidence in support of the existence of an egalitarian urban life in some ancient cities where political and civic organization was far less hierarchical. I think it's a perfect option. Don't you think so? बहुत बढ़िया लग रहा है. बहुत अच्छे से इसने वो चीजें कवर करी हैं सारी, है ना? I'll put a small tick here. The emergence of a class of administrators and ruling stratum transformed, changed the egalitarian urban life of ancient cities to the hierarchical civic organizations of today. Now, this is talking about the transition from egalitarian to hierarchical. देखिए hierarchy जो होता है वो the current system that we have having multiple levels. Okay, so this certainly passage is not talking about how it evolved and how it transformed. The focus is not on that. Okay, so B is out. Contrary to our assumption that urban settlements have always involved hierarchical, political, and administrative structures, ancient cities were not organized in this way. Okay, this is still okay, fine. It says our assumption that urban settlements have always been of this nature, but ancient cities were not organized this way. But how is A better than C? How is A better than C? Because it tells you about the evidence also. ठीक है? This tells us about the evidence also. So this is a better option as compared to C, because C is simply saying that contrary to our assumptions. Fine. So A would be a better choice. B, the lack of hierarchical administration in ancient cities can be deduced by the absence of religious and regal structures such as temples and palaces. Again, why not D delta? Let's have a look at it. The lack of hierarchical administration in ancient cities can be deduced by the absence of religious and regal structures such as temples and palaces. Okay, but then this is saying existence of an egalitarian urban life. The focus is egalitarian urban life. So it has just this right set of keywords, the ideas put in the best sequence. So A is going to be the best option. Now let's move to parajumbles. I want you to take up this. Okay, let's do this one. Parajumbles, I know you know, right? Sentences are jumbled up. They belong to a paragraph, but you have to arrange them in a proper sequence to ensure that the paragraph is logical and coherent. Okay. Veena Sahajwala, a material scientist at the University of New South Wales, believes there's a new way of solving this problem. Her vision is for automated drones and robots to pick out components, put them into a small furnace, and smell them at specific temperatures to extract the metals one by one before they are sent off to manufacturers for reuse. Okay. E-waste contains huge quantities of valuable metals, ceramics, and plastics that could be salvaged, saved, and recycled, although currently not enough of it is. She plans to build micro factories that can tease apart the tangle of materials in mobile phones, computers, and other e-waste. देखिए, सबसे पहले try to look for an opening sentence, because once you have identified the opener, then everything starts falling in place, and you can, with confidence and with better precision, you can understand the idea flow, and then you can keep on adding the sentences to the sequence. So what would be the best opener here? E-waste contains huge quantities of valuable metals, ceramics, and plastics that could be salvaged and recycled, although currently not enough of it is. Yani कि this is a general statement that opens or introduces the problem, right? So 3 से start होगा. Do you get this? Next क्या आना चाहिए फिर? See, here you have words like her and she. Now there is something called a noun pronoun rule, which clearly pronounces that सबसे पहले noun लगाओ फिर ही pronoun लगाओ. Now this is not a thumb rule. There can be exceptions, but 90% cases में this is going to work. 90-95% cases में. So who is the person that we are talking about? किसका vision? किसके plans? It is Veena, right? So 3 के बाद आएगा Veena Sahajwala, a material scientist, believes there's a new way of solving this problem. Another very unique thing is this problem. Which problem? The problem of e-waste. ठीक? So 3-1 is the perfect sequence. Next, what? I think 4 and 2 both are details of her plans and her vision. But then which one should come first? Should it be 4-2 or should it be 2-4? ये बताइए. पहले 4 आ जाना चाहिए, फिर आना चाहिए 2. Why is that so? The 4 says she plans to build micro factories. It's a broad thing. You know that, she can, so that she can extract metals and all the materials from mobile phones, computers, and so many other e-waste. So that's a broad thing. 2 is going to tell you about the detailed plan. That how is she going to do that? Using drones, robots, fine furnace, maintaining the temperature and extracting metals. So 3-1-4-2. Don't you think it was wonderful? Yes. Okay. Let's do a few more. Finally, we take up this odd sentence. All right. So बताना तो मैं आपको बहुत कुछ चाहती हूँ, but there's always a paucity of time. There are some constraints. So let's take up this one odd sentence, जिसको odd parajumble भी बोला जाता है. Now, there are 5 sentences given to you. 4 of them belong to a paragraph. One is odd. So you have to identify that option which is odd, right? They don't care about the sequence. They simply want to know whether you can identify the odd one or not. Chalo, dekhte hain. Although hard skills have traditionally ruled the roost, some companies are moving away from choosing prospective hires based on technical abilities alone. Hard skills क्या होते हैं? What are hard skills? Hard skills are actually technical skills. Fine. Companies are shaking off the old definition of an ideal candidate and ditching the idea of looking for the singularly perfect candidate altogether. Now, some job descriptions are frequently asking for candidates to demonstrate soft skills, such as leadership or teamwork. That's not to say that practical know-how or the technical skills is no longer required. Some jobs still call for highly specific expertise. The move towards prioritizing soft skills is a natural response to 3 years of the pandemic, says a senior recruiter at Sendler FSB. So this entire paragraph, I think a very nice approach for cracking such questions is try to identify the common thread. Try to identify the theme, okay? Now, what is the theme? The theme is simply right? Hard skills versus soft skills. Is this much clear? So this is saying that traditionally तो hard skills ही बहुत popular रहे हैं, technical skills पे हमेशा focus रहा है, but then now technical abilities are not the only thing that recruiters are seeking. So there's so many job descriptions that they demand soft skills such as leadership or teamwork. This does not mean that they are not focusing on technical skills anymore, but then they are prioritizing soft skills. Now, while all these sentences 1, 3, 4, 5 are telling about this shift from only technical skills to rising importance of soft skills, there's one statement, option statement B, statement 2 rather, जो एक अलग बात कह रहा है. This is telling you about ideal candidate and the perfect candidate. Companies are shaking off the old definition of an ideal candidate and ditching the idea of looking for the singularly perfect candidate altogether. Now, this is slightly tangential to the major discussion that we are doing, that you have to understand. थोड़ा सा ये अलग हो जाता है. क्यों? क्योंकि अब यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं कि आइडियल कैंडिडेट की जो डेफिनेशन थी, द कंपनीज आर नो लॉन्गर क्लिंगिंग ऑन टू इट एंड दे आर शिफ्टिंग देयर व्यू पॉइंट. सो व्हाट आर यू टॉकिंग अबाउट हियर? All the remaining sentences are simply talking about the hard skills and soft skills. While this one, the statement 2 is odd, hence 2 is going to be the answer. Sometimes you may have to set the sequence of all the remaining ones, but here it was not required. Here, merely looking at it, you can understand that, ऐसे ही आपको समझ में आ रहा है कि 2 जो है वो odd होना चाहिए. So class, I very much hope that you've been able to learn something from this session. Right? And if you feel that I must come up with more such sessions, and if you feel that you're benefiting from our entire series, the PYQ, CAT PYQ series, then please send some amazing warm comments to us and like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done it yet. Okay? So that's all. So these are some slides which tell you about, our different courses available. Okay? And you can actually reach out to us through multiple ways. And thank you so much. That's all for today. Bye.